Yes, please. Please tell me about yourself. Not in brief, just to give your introduction, experience, technical, education background, and current company. That's it. One day.
Yeah, thank you, my brother. My name is Sanmesh. So I belongs to Karnataka, one of district Bidar. So I have completed my primary schooling, diploma, and engineering in my native. So I started my career with an Java developer with an LTDS. Initially, I have worked for 3 to 4 months as a tester, maybe for to understand the application. They maybe kept put on the testing department. So later, I have started working on the development side. So I have spent more than 1.5 year at the LTTS. Client is Huawei at that moment. So later I have switched to Scient Limited, where I have worked within two projects. One is John Deere application, and currently I am working at an client location. That is client is Boeing. Since last 3.5 year onwards, I am working at the client location. So as technical side, I have experience in Spring Boot, Java, Spring Batch, Angular, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, jQuery, and Content Manager Alfresco, like how to interact with an exchanging data between application and content manager device. And my contribution towards the application is 30% to front end side, more than like 30 to 40% at the front end side, and 50 to 60% at the back end side. And
Okay.
this is yeah,
Okay.
this is
Okay. 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 Great. So you have experience in AngularJS,
yeah.
and you have knowledge about AWS, Azure,
I
any
have
Google Play.
knowledge
Mm-hmm.
like initially to learn myself. I have registered with my credit card. I have gone through some of the services in AWS EC2 creation with the micro and all those things,
Mm-hmm.
instance creation and deploying using the SQL server. So some of the knowledge I have,
Okay.
but work-wise, I didn't got a chance to work on any cloud side.
Okay, okay, okay. No, basic knowledge if you get opportunity, so it would be great for you. It would be easy to understand the logic and deployment concept, how it is working. So that's why I'm asking. Next thing, you how much experience you have gained right now?
Currently, it's in 6.5.
6.5. So during this period, you have some play the role of leading the team or you mentoring the team members, that kind of activity have you done?
Yeah, I have done recently. We have developed an application using Spring Batch concept. In that, I have taken the module lead.
Okay, 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 great, great. So now next question is related to Spring Batch. Okay, you are telling about the Spring Batch.
Yeah.
So Spring Batch, what purpose of using to Spring Batch?
Spring Batch, once we launch any batch, any job using the job launcher,
Mm-hmm.
so inside it, one job consists of multiple steps,
Hmm.
and that individual steps consist of multiple tasks.
Mm-hmm.
So the task which we are writing the business logic, that class will implement the tasklet interface. So
Mm-hmm.
in that we will get one execute method. So we will write all business required things in that execute method. So step by step we will call task, one task, second task. In chain we will call in steps, and same steps will be called in a job. So to do a operations step by step, we will prefer for a Spring Batch.
Okay. So, Spring Batch you telling, so we can go with the Spring Boot by using the asynchronous API concept means you can show third pole task executor and
Completable feature.
compatible features. We can go with this because of If you are using the multitasking concept, so you are going with the batch, right? The Spring batch. So that thing can be happen through this also this way. So
Uh,
why? Because of why I'm asking the importance role of the Spring batches. That's why. Because of that's why I given the scenario to you.
okay, so in that contest, we can schedule a batches based on the cron job. We can
Mm-hmm.
schedule a jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the first advantage,
Mm-hmm.
and we can do pre-config, post-config before running any steps. So declarative compatibility compared to executor service and completable feature, Spring Batch is better.
Okay. Mm. Okay. Okay. Great. So Spring Boot basically Spring Batch used for especially which type of task? Because of have some specification, right? Otherwise, we can go with the normal process. Suppose we have some JSON request body or something, we can normally execute that. But batch is especially used for the some specific region, right? Just like as a chunk data or you have some heavy size of data we want to execute. So that objective is fulfilled by batch processing or any other region.
No, no. Spring like chunk context that will maintain like context like data like from which chunk context is used to interact between two steps while executing. And moreover, batch. For example, in our application, inside this Spring Batch itself, we have used executor service with fixed thread full 4
Hmm.
with completable feature. We are like packaging around more than 10 GB data in a single zip file, which we are giving for the end user for training purpose.
Hmm.
For in this concept, just once we trigger the job, we will step that same like completable feature which we implemented in the application. It will download one like completable feature with executor service which we mentioned with the thread pool. With one thread we will download the videos, from one thread we will download the audios, from one thread we will download the PDFs. So asynchronous way we are doing. So
Hmm.
and finally we are configuring, see after completion of this step, again we have to go for another step where we are making a zip of like Tango server. In root path we are using the Tango server as a manual caching purpose. So we specify that path. So it will in step 4 it will create the package, and step 5th it will place in a alfresco and it will clean up. So batch purpose is to do a step by step. So if you
Okay, okay,
go,
great, great, great. So now I'm moving Spring Boot. What are dependency? You know dependency in Spring Boot. Suppose you just you want to create some new application. So how to inject dependency as per your requirement? So how do you like that initiate new project?
for example, two-way we can do it. Nowadays, Spring Direct, if you go to Spring official website, Spring IO, Spring IO, something is there. So where you can create your pom.xml by adding the dependencies
Mm-hmm.
uh, with web. If you need a Lombok. If you need a security thing, you can select the security.
Mm-hmm.
So it will give you the pom.xml directly.
Mm-hmm.
So if you need basic structure of application also, it will give in a zip function. So you can configure your project required everything in a
So how do you integrate Spring security?
Spring security. We can integrate with security filter chaining, which and default security filter chaining method we have to implement, which take a parameter of HTTP, and inside that it will provide you the authentication and authorization with request matcher
Mm-hmm.
in a all, whether the person is authenticated, so we have to mention that not authenticated. It will provide you the default login page also. We can customize that by providing our designed HTML. Uh, yeah, we can do in memory validation also, DB side validation also, and we can
Okay,
call it.
okay, okay. So suppose you want to integrate token, JW2 token in whole API for validating to it. So how do create JW2 token, and how do you pass STT to like that barrier and the token name, right, in the whole API for validating aspect. So how do you do that?
Sorry, from Spring Security configure class, we can call any third-party tool which provide you the JWT token.
Mm-hmm.
We will pass the user ID and password to that tool. So if it will validate the user ID and password based on the internal scripting format, it will send you one token.
Mm-hmm.
So with response, we will send that token to the client. So that token will be saved in a browser with a J security password and J security username.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, whenever we hitting any endpoints of the application, by default that authentication token will pass with the request. This that token will validate and it will provide you the access to the application until unless you close the browser, else you close the session.
Mm-hmm. So what kind of scope variables have in scope variable have in Spring? You know scope variable.
I know bean scope by rebel. I don't know.
Scope variables you don't know. I think you know, but you not have in mind. You know prototype, singleton.
That is like bean lifecycle. That is singleton prototype session request application.
So this is the scope variable, right?
I thought scope variable. I grabbed that word as some different, so I can't able to tell you.
Okay, 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 no problem. Uh, so you think about Spring Boot and Spring MVC. What you find the major differences between these two framework? Because of Spring Boot is also working in the same manner, and Spring framework is also working in the same manner. Request, response, everything is doing the same way. But what did you feel uh, about Spring MVC and Spring Boot?
Spring MVC is a design pattern where you can use the normal Spring application with an MVC pattern, model view control. Spring Boot is a one of the strongest framework in a Spring ecosystem, which provide you starter of dependency and dependency auto configuration. For example, taking an example, we will Spring Boot will run application on Tomcat by default, but we are not configuring anywhere. But when we add Spring Web Jar starter dependency, internally it will call another pom.xml. In that pom.xml, Tomcat is integrated to our application. So these kind of auto configuration will be provided by the Spring Boot. One thing, and second thing, Spring Boot supports with Spring Security, Spring AOP, auditing purpose. It will provide custom validations like for email, not null, empty, and majorly it provides for auto configuration. If you want to exclude any auto configuration, you have to mention that exclude manually.
So, which dependency is better? Suppose I am telling you dependency injections, I am just telling you about. Means setter dependency injections, method dependency injections, and constructor dependency injections. So, of in these three, which one is better? dependency suppose you want to apply in your application.
See, if you want to use that in like injected object instance in the same class, so you have to make that as a final. So when you are making final, any dependency injected variable reference, you can't make it a final when you use the auto void on top of it. So
So,
that moment it will go for
okay. So suppose I don't want to use auto wire annotation. So what without auto wire annotation, how do you inject dependency? In suppose you have a controller, inside the controller you are calling injecting some service dependencies, right?
yes,
So I don't want to use auto wire. I want to use different techniques,
constructor based.
constructor base. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's why I am asking constructor base is a good approach comparison to the auto wiring.
When you are
Because of auto wire, what will do that? If you have multiple controller, you have multiple service classes, you have multiple, for example, DAO classes. Okay. So in that scenario, lot of dependencies you want to inject in each other. So number of auto wires, number of singleton classes will at a once time when the Spring container initialized, so all objects should be initialized at the once time. You got my point?
yeah,
So this is not a better approach because of singleton means your controller will initialize, your service will initialize, everything should be initialized. So for example, if you are using constructor base, suppose you want to use the particular controller for calling the particular REST API, in that cases and the runtime it will initialize your dependency of the service classes and execute and close it. So this is the better approach, that's why I am telling you. Memory consumption should be less comparison to the constructor based dependency injection. Constructor means if have a constructor, if you calling the particular controller, then will create the object.
yes,
So during the creation of object, your all dependency should be initialized at the time. But auto wiring will initialize in initial levels. Initial levels means your container will start running, then it will initialize. So this is not better approach because of this is the memory consuming concept,
yeah,
right?
yes,
So that's why my intention was asking to question about the dependency injection, which one is a better, setter, method and constructor. Right, you got my point.
yeah, yeah.
So next question I want to ask you related to in Spring Boot, you know you are using JPA, right?
Yes, yes.
So you
So
know
then get
CRUD repository and JPA repository. Hmm?
yeah.
So which one is better if you want to use from these two?
See, if you are that repository is performing only CRUD related inbuilt method operation, CRUD operation,
Mm-hmm.
then you can go for implement CRUD repository.
Mm-hmm.
But you are not sure later your repository is going to be handled for paging and sorting things also. Then you go for JPA repository. Then you will by default you will get a both methods. So whenever
No,
you yeah.
because of the CRUD repository is a legacy.
Yes.
Okay, you know.
Yes.
This is the
Yeah.
legacy. Legacy means if you are implementing the CRUD repository, so you need to the implementation class. If you are using because of JPA repository is also part of CRUD repository, but it is standard new features. CRUD means you just create an interface, just you start the implementation into the service class if you want to call any method, because of this is the predefined. No need to implementation as per the CRUD repository. This is sufficient only the interface.
Yeah. But it has limited methods. But whenever we need particular,
No, I have unlimited method. Who is telling you? Same features are there, but this is the enhanced
yes, yes,
technique. No
yeah,
need to write a implementation class.
yes.
Okay.
Only we need to write for derived method for some like
Only you create a interface, extend to JPA repository and JPA repository, just you use the casting. Casting means your entity class, with your entity class. Accordingly, you do that. You call any method, you perform the operation. So, so I am just moving to the core Java.
okay.
Okay, because of I think yes, you know, as per expectation in this technique technology. So Java, which version you have used?
1.8.
1.8. So you know what is difference between meta space and POM gen memory. No, POM gen means no. You know meta space?
Form gen also I have heard that word. Uh, yeah, I hear that I'm not able to like grab that now.
Okay. So what is difference between JDK, JRE and JBM? How do you evaluate about these three things? I'm just asking the basic thing about
Okay, JDK itself, Java Development Kit.
that.
JRE will provide you the jars, reference jars. JVM, Java Development Kit itself consists of JVM and JRE.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, JVM is to run the code as per the its architecture. JRE will provide the reference library.
JRE provides the reference library.
Yeah, because
Okay, this is
when
runtime environment, right?
yeah, yes.
So can you give the example of class loader?
Yeah, there are like Bootstrap class loader is there,
Mm-hmm.
and three type of loaders are there. Boost
RT, RT,
runtime class.
no, RT dot jar, no idea.
No
Who
idea.
just
I know three types of class loaders are there.
okay.
Yeah.
So you know the basic thing about what is difference between class and object?
Class is a blueprint of
Blueprint of the object.
object.
Okay. So just I am asking correlated question from this class and object. What is encapsulation?
Encapsulation is it means like adding the whole class class blueprint into one single like for example making the private and that class only like adding the class into like a restricted level.
Where is restricted? You have read out the definition. No have any restrictions. Just only have bind the data, variable and method. You can say simple word variable and method into the single entity.
Yes,
So what is entity?
entity is a like class.
No. Class is a blueprint. So where is entity?
Entity is a like object. You can call it, for example, that entity is a object.
Okay. So that's why I am asking. In beginning I have asked to you about the class and entity. Object. Object is a entity, real time.
Yes.
Real word is a entity. Okay, so real word is a entity means that is the object. So the simple definition is that you have variable and method. You want to create a object of that class would be an encapsulation. Simple definition. Nothing need to be right, private, protected. That is the modifier.
Okay.
You want to restrict the particular variable and method outside of the class, then you can utilize this. Suppose you have private thing, you don't want to publish in outside. So what you do? Precautions. In the Java term have some keyword. Means you use the private, it will automatically restricted to outside. In the term of Java. Okay?
Yeah.
So what is encapsulation?
Encapsulation is an entity which has variable and method declare inside it.
Encapsulation, right?
Yeah.
And abstraction?
Abstraction is like only having the abstract method.
How do you tell the abstract method? Can you give the definition about the abstraction?
Abstraction is a like I'm showing the only business like syntax.
Hmm.
Like for example interface. For example, we have a login business requirement. Just we will create abstract method within login.
Hmm.
Uh, and we forgot password. So
No,
we
no,
will
no,
create
no,
again.
no. Your definition actually you are not clear about the definition. Definition is a simple thing, hiding the complexity of behavior, right?
Yeah. Hiding the complexity and business logic of behavior.
So here, if you are not written the business logic inside the abstract method, so how do you tell this is the best example? How do you tell?
We have implemented class, right?
So class, right? So inside the class, you have, because of object oriented, those concepts follow the object oriented programming. Means if you have object, then encapsulation and abstraction will happen. Right? You are clear about that?
Yes, yes, yes.
So abstract class and interface not have object. So how do you correlate with this thing?
Using polymorphism.
No, dear, you confused because of abstraction is a part of concrete class, not a part of abstract class and interface. Okay? Means hiding you keep in mind hiding the complexity of behavior.
Hello.
Hello? Yes.
Yeah.
So that is my question. Okay. So
Yeah.
means if you have knowledge about the encapsulation and abstraction, you give the clear picture. Encapsulation means if you have bundled variable and method, you want to unbundle, that is the abstraction. Unbundle means inside the object you want to call particular method, so you use the references object dot method name. So here you are hiding the implementation, right? You
Yes.
simply you call the method. If you have parameter, you just pass the parameter, right? So here
Yes.
implementation you are hiding. That is the best example.
Okay.
So what do you think about terminal operations and non-terminal operations in Java Stream API?
Oh, terminal operations like collecting the uh, output and output.
Okay. Okay,
Non-terminal.
so uh, your name is Sangmesh, right?
Yeah.
So I am just giving you one programming uh, scenario just to write the code, because of that is the mandatory, okay, for recording aspect. Suppose you have a string, just to write a string, you give the variable name anything, it is equal inside the right string a b c d e f g, anything you can write, okay. So I want to find out the count of each character, find out the count of each character. You can write a program by using Java 8. If you have traditional, so you can write the traditional way, not a constant. Any way you can write. Okay? This is the last question.